Check out our latest coffee from Costa Rica at monkeyworksus.com. Welcome, folks. Mil-Spec Ops Monkey here. It's going to be your SITREP. It is 2/8/2024, and we're going to get into what's going on with that southern border here in Texas. You think it's closed, but I will tell you, we got a lot of holes in a lot of other places. California is a perfect example. We're going to look at the numbers coming through San Diego. It's going to blow your mind. We are being invaded, and this has to stop. And of course, the corrupt politicians who are, we've got the taxation without representation going, and they're doing nothing for us. In fact, they're trying to bamboozle us every chance they get by just loading this powder keg full of monies going to things like Ukraine and Gaza and all the places that we don't need to be supporting besides our home front right here. Folks, just buckle up because this is going to be 30 minutes, fast and furious. And I'm going to show you a lot of stuff going on around the world. Ukraine, this is going to be a very interesting dynamic. I do believe we are on the brink of a spring offensive just based on what I'm seeing. I also think there's some stuff going on that are bringing the immigrants in on C-17s. I'm going to show you the data. And they're just, even if we shut the border, they're just going to fly them in. That's what we're dealing with when it comes to this government. So just pay attention. Because, like I said, this is going to be a fast 30 minutes, but you're going to be pretty mad when you get done with this because it is very obvious to me that it doesn't matter what we do as the people, you're not going to change this government, okay? The plan is not to fix or build anything. The plan is to destroy and tear down what we already have existing, and that is this republic. All right, let's get over here to the mini. We're going to start off in Skyglass, as always, sitting at 227. And keep in mind, I've already stripped out 120 trainers. Okay, so like I said, it's not always about the volume. It's really about the what, right? What it really is that is up that makes the difference, right? Those electronic suites or the helicopters, or the tankers, air refuelers, right? We'll look at that closer too. Here's the H-60s, just to give you a little flavor. 29 of those, so almost 30 H-60 Blackhawks currently up. This would be the training area that we typically see. Don't see a lot of that. What we do see is them kind of coast to coast. Now, that number seems like, wow, that's a lot, right? 6 to 8's our usual because we've established that baseline over the years. But guess what? Last night at like 8, 9 o'clock at night, we had 90 plus up all over the United States. So what's going on? I don't know, but that is a lot of helos up, folks, a lot. Air refuelers. You can see this is live. Currently 23 up of the KC-135s. And then if we add in some 762 Pegasus, which are also refuelers, 22 on the screen. That's a kind of an average number. It's not really, really super over the top, but I'll show you some additional data that would indicate that we are definitely on an up tempo in terms of what we are expecting here in the United States. The amount of coverage is insane, all right? We're also going to talk a little bit more about the lack of things that we need to fight a war. I'm seeing the trend. I'm seeing them saying it a lot. It is a very, very bad scenario that we have put ourselves in, all because of Ukraine. And these numbskulls keep adding to it. They just keep putting more nickels in the machine, they're trying to float $60 billion more into Ukraine. And that would cover things like 155 millimeter artillery, which you're going to see when I show you. They're not firing any of it right now. Yeah, I'm telling you, we're in a bad place, folks. From just a people perspective around the world, we are in a very bad place. And I would say it's exactly what the Bible told us was going to happen. So when we watch all these things starting to unfold, then I just crack open your Bibles. If you got any doubts, go read it and what is in the near future. And it's going to open your eyes as to just how close we really are. All right. Okay. Now, let's do this. I'm going to hit the intel side of the house first and foremost, just to show you. Look at what's going on here. We got something going into Qatar, but you can see that little flight rolling in. All right, that's an intelligence aircraft. A little bit of stuff over Israel, which is very light compared to what we normally see. Notice the stuff in and out of Constanta and then up towards the Baltics, okay? This, when you talk about Constanta, you talk about the deep state, that is their port, okay? That's where all the bread and butter is made, okay? If you know what I'm talking about, I'm not going to go into it here because this stuff still gets put onto the tube, but there's, yeah, you know what it is. Notice a little bit over Italy. I don't know what's going on there, but then notice you've got also up over the DC area. You come down, there's some long transitions, right? Notice it in and out of kind of Austin, there near Fort Hood, and then all the way up to the north towards Minnesota, okay? And then, of course, that Tucson area we expect. Notice into Reno. Now, the interesting thing is in some of those locations, that's where we're putting illegals. So are we keeping a close eye on them? Obviously, we are, I'm sure, that they are probably keeping tabs on what's going on. That would be probably the white hats, while the black hats are pushing people just straight into the country, right? Working against each other, okay? Let's talk drones. We started out here, or left off here in the United States. Now you can see, just notice you've got some transitions. Look like Q9 activity just based on the flight stops, okay? Looks like they stopped for refueling. East Coast to West Coast, back and forth, right? Just a transition line is what that is. Now we get over to the center of Europe, and I don't see anything except for some Q4 drone. That's going to be that Forte call sign out over the Black Sea, coming out of Malta. They keep it out of harm's way. A little bit of low altitude stuff over the Mediterranean. Of course, we got ships there, and that's really it. There's some stuff going on over Qatar, but that's really it, okay? Now we look at R-135s. Notice at that snake tongue looking out over the Texas border where we see a lot of fighter activity. Then some stuff looks to be headed or looking towards the northern border or something else, right, in the northern United States there. Okay, then over this way, just notice, again, it runs up there all the way to the north, over Finland, all the way down towards Constanta. And again, R-135 activity, right? Remember, these are the aircraft that can look at something the size of a soccer ball from 300 miles away. Okay, now this we don't see too often. We know they do exist, but look at this flight right here. That is flying right up to the southern side of North Korea, looking very closely at what's going on over there, all right? Okay, now let's do this. I want to look at the nuke sniffer side. You expect it. We got a Super Bowl coming up this weekend. We talk about some of all fears. These guys are out just combing the area. This is a helo. It's in 412DE. Okay, that's going to be the call sign for that if you want to track that aircraft. But that aircraft is actually over Vegas smelling the air. So it's got all of these probes and sensors on it, and it's flying around and basically collecting stuff that's in the air. And if there's a nuke or dirty bomb or chemical, biological, whatever, something that is in the air that's not supposed to be there, it'll give off some type of a warning, right? So, okay, that is where we are with everything else except for I've still got the air refuelers and the banana copters we got to look at, okay, closely. These are H-47 Chinooks, okay? It's a banana copter. It's the one with the two blades on top. Looks like a big black banana when it's flying through the air. Rotten banana. Notice we got a little bit of an uptick. There's 183 in 3 days over the United States. And then over this side, when we start talking about Europe, there's a long transition over towards Constanta, towards the Black Sea. That's moving stuff, all right? These are logistics helicopters, right? Troops and equipment, all right? And then don't see anything over the Middle East, which isn't a shocker in terms of that. But, United States is a bit of an uptick. Again, we're still establishing the baseline. I don't really know what's the norm and what's not the norm, right? When we start talking about H60s, we know, 6 to 8 on average up there, right? But when you start talking about H47s, I don't really know. So we're just going to continue to monitor and watch where they're going, and at least maybe you got a heads up if they're coming into your area. You can hear them all day long. Now this, air refuelers, notice here, we're flying over Iraq. Notice we're to the west of Baghdad, and that flank right there is the area we've been striking the Iranian proxy terrorist targets, okay? In and out of Cyprus, putting some stuff in. Got a little bit of air refueling there. Same spot we saw. Let me back that up if you didn't catch it. Over Italy. Remember, we were just looking at Italy, and I said, man, we got a little intelligence gathering going on there. Well, at the same time, that's Cyprus. You get over that same area over Italy, over the water, you got an air refueler up. So the Italians are nervous about something. They're very, very eyes on that particular spot. The eastern flank, right? You start talking about Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, Poland. We got some air refueling going on over those areas as well. Look at this off of the Florida coast down over the Gulf of Mexico. Don't see that too often. Air refuelers, again, good indicator of fighter activity, right? Last 3 days, look at the amounts, 200 and something flights down the southern border of Texas, out over the water. It looks like that exercise that was off the California coast has ended. I don't see anything else indicating that they're still got a lot of fighters and everything else going on there. So, okay, that brings us up to speed in terms of looking at the military side of the house. Now, one other thing I do want to show you. Let's look at the NOAA flights, right? These are the science guys, right? You start talking about atmospheric rivers, et cetera. I don't know what they're doing over Texas. Makes me a little nervous, all right? Because anytime these guys show up, it's kind of like, you don't want them in your neck of the woods, really, okay? But then look at California, and I'm going to show you a headline here that's going to kind of piece this together when we start talking about California. But look at this, again, Minnesota, Wisconsin, up into the Northeast, like Vermont and that side of the house. Very active, very busy in terms of that. Now, I've seen a lot of things in terms of cloud seeding over the last several days, but I've seen it here too, and they're not even hiding it anymore. I think they're just being straight up, just in our face. Okay. Look at this headline. We talk about NOAA. We talk about the fact that we've been watching the flights go in and over Southern California. And then we look at this. What does this say? This is Channel 7 News. Southern Cal water officials test cloud seeding in an effort to increase region's water supply. Well, listen, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure out that California has had record flooding this last year. There's no more drought in California. Absolutely gone. The atmospheric rivers that have come in back to back to back to back for the last 12 months has taken away the drought in California. Yet they're adding to it. They're continuing. They're putting the cloud seeding in. So if you've seen the weather come in and you're like, man, it's really windy, it's rained a lot more than I expected, it's because they are adding to the atmospheric river that is already coming in. So there you have it. It's a smoking gun, right? So just point that out there. Okay, now let's get into the news side of the house, and let's start talking about what's going on out there. First off, this is your latest atmospheric river. This is at 15,000 feet. I'm going to bounce it up a little bit to see where it's coming in. If we start talking about 30,000 feet, you can see right there next to where they're getting ready to go out and do a little bit of that NOAA atmospheric river study, probably some cloud seeding in there too. But they're bouncing in over here. You can see the wave just continues coming in. Look down here over Baja, very, very heavy as well. Of course, this is all the way up to 30,000 feet. Look at this mess across the Atlantic. Luckily, they fly a little further north than that, but it just kind of gives you a general idea. All of these boxes, the NOTAMs, we got a lot of stuff going on. We know we've got the Vegas thing happening this weekend, right? But just give you a general idea who's on the move. Looks like Flashbang is headed home over the weekend. And this one, I think, is today's move. Remember, they go red when they're active, and this is coming up, all right? Okay, just kind of a general idea. Now, if we look over here at the weather side of the house, we're talking about, we saw the boxes that came out over this general area. Notice this is the actual water vapor showing the rain, right, coming in. You can just see it just building as it comes towards the west coast. Looks like the northern end all the way up into Canada is going to get the brunt of this one, but that is where we are. Again, these are the other boxes, and I think these colored boxes, just because I know somebody's going to ask about it, I think this has to do with freezing. I think it's a freeze. That's what I think that is. Special weather statement. But yeah, I think that's a freeze. Okay, back away from this. And back away from that, let's get over here to what's going on. Border authorities have already encountered 1 million migrants since October, the earliest ever. It's about 100,000 encounters, higher than last year. And yeah, listen, if you're supporting any of the non-governmental organizations, the NGOs, like the Catholic Church, for example, there is a list out there that just shows all of it. Clinton Foundation is part of that. All of the NGOs that are basically helping them get to our border in mass numbers, right? They're giving them everything they need to get them to that southern border. Well, if you're supporting them, you need to stop. Okay, if you're giving to the Catholic Church, you need to stop. You need to hold them accountable, because those are the ones that continue to enable all of this. Don't think for a minute Soros and those guys aren't also helping do this, as well as our own government. All right. But check this out. This is coming from CBP. Encountered more than 1 million migrants since October 1, the earliest ever to reach the milestone. Last year, to give you a general idea, it was at 909,000, which is not far off of that number. And so it just goes to show you, it just continues to come. Now, the interesting piece is, there are almost 20,000 Chinese migrants so far just this year. Just this year. If you look at what they were last year, 37,000. That's what we've encountered, right? That just means we've caught them coming to the border, and of course, we let them in, right? Now, this is a little data point for you, but I'm just going to tell you so you understand exactly what's going on at the San Diego sector. Border Patrol San Diego sector reports agents apprehended 8,659 illegal immigrants from 73 different countries over a 1 week span. That was from the end of the year to February 6th. All right. And it says here that they've been getting hammered with Chinese nationals just in recent weeks. It's the fastest growing demographic arriving at the border right now. Well, why should we be concerned? Well, there's a little more to that. We're going to talk about this piece. Chinese hackers have spent 5 years waiting in the U.S. In U.S. infrastructure. So they're here on our soil, ready to attack. All they're just waiting for the Chinese government to basically say, go get it on, right? And this is why this is very important. When you talk about infrastructure, you're talking about everything, our water system, our power, electric, whatever it may be, anything that has to do with keeping our country sustainable. All right. You take out the water and yeah, you're going to see a lot of people dying. This is coming actually from 6 agencies that are basically cybersecurity agencies talking about this. Now, the key takeaway to this is the fact that they didn't just hack it and hit the firewall. They got in. That's the key to all of this. All right. So how are they getting into the United States? Well, let me just show you the immigrant machine. As we have always shown you, this is the flights coming in, and these are the ones going down. My guess is now they're picking people up and bringing them straight in. That coming out of Alexandria, that's a 72-hour holding facility. Those are the folks that they have enough to fill a plane that aren't making the cut, right? They're probably the guys that are saying, yeah, I got criminal activity or history in my country, or whatever it may be, and you caught me coming into the border, right? But there's that aspect. Now we go over to the Swift flights. Let me just show you what we've got going on. Again, it hasn't changed much other than notice the flights that are helping them come into Southern California. Where are they going? They're not going to Northern California. They're bringing them to Texas. rerouting them, okay? They're bringing them into areas like San Antonio, all right? You can see San Antonio is quite the big hub for moving them around. Of course, Laredo, where they tell you they don't. Yeah, that's all conspiracy theory, folks. And then everywhere else in the United States, major hubs, right? You're into Missouri. You can see them going into St. Louis and Omaha, Nebraska. And then every major city in the United States, they keep just pinging on a regular basis, okay? And then these flights down to Central America. Now, my guess is they're picking up women and children and flying them in, if I had to guess, all right? They got the money to do it. So, but that's, I think, how they're getting into our country. It's they come to the border, they give them a plane ticket, and if it's not Swift Air, then it's on the other airlines like Southwest, American, Delta, United, etc., right? They're all in on it as well. So if you're flying and you're giving them your money, you are supporting this in an inadvertent way, okay? Okay. Now, we talked about that one. Here is, just to show you again, Republic of Korea, United States, numero uno, all right? That's the first one. And then let's just button it down, but I want to show you how this is looking in terms of the United States being cyber attacked right now, all right? So you can see very, very busy and active, but the U.S. is getting the brunt of all of it. All right, here we go. White House says that ICE will reduce deportations and detention capacity if Republicans don't pass this border bill. So they're holding you hostage. Remember, if you hide this, let me take that away, and let's go over here to the Bohica moment. This is what we talked about. This is what's in that bill. $60 billion for Ukraine, $10 billion for Gaza. All right, so don't lose sight of that. And let me hide that as we get away from that aspect of it. And then I did want to share one thing with you that I thought was pretty interesting, because we talk about what's going on with our election cycle here in the United States. But look at this. This is coming from the Kraut himself. Elections will soon be a quaint relic of the past. Let that sink in. He just said that like, 2 weeks ago at Davos, right? Yeah. They're telling you straight up, your vote doesn't matter, right? You know why your vote doesn't matter? Let me tell you why. Because they are going to basically, I mean, this is all, you start talking about beast system and all the other things. Yeah, you're going to have one leader. And that's what he's telling you, okay? One leader. All right? Again, crack open your Bibles. If you're not a believer and you don't understand what's going on, it is very, very significant, all right? Okay. Now, let's look over and see what Flashbang's up to today. It's the 8th. It looks like he's headed up to Leesburg, Virginia, and other than that, we don't really care. Okay, away from the Senior Living Center, let's get over here to this piece. Like I said, taxation without representation is what we have here. Republican standalone Israel aid bill fails in the House vote. That was a $17.6 billion. And as I have shown you when we went over there to the Bohica moment, and that was, again, they're trying to pump $10 billion of that is going to Gazans. Okay, right. So yeah, it should have failed. I'm glad it failed because this is a bundled package. This guy right here, he should be on the chopping block, right? Shortest, House Speaker's seat ever elected by, his constituents. They just need to send him packing because he ain't getting it done. All right, here we go. Supplier bottlenecks threaten U.S. Navy effort to grow arms stockpiles. Yes, we've been talking about this. What this article is talking directly about is the fact that if the Navy engages with China in an effort to stop their invasion on Taiwan, that they only have a couple of days' supply to get it done. Let that sink in. A couple of days' supply. It's all the Navy has. So if we go to all-out war, your Navy on this particular Tomahawk missile has a couple of days' supply. The Navy. This is just insane. But wait, it gets better. U.S. Army hunts for explosives to meet the increased munitions output goal. Well, guess what? Yeah, we already know 155 Mike artillery is a big deal they're short of. They only make 14,400 a month. And Ukraine was going through, that in a day, okay? They were blowing through it like nobody's business. Well, guess what? They've run out. And so now the army is in panic mode because they're like, we got to get to 100,000 a month production cycle just to get us to a point where we can fight a war. And they're saying that goal is by the end of 2025, not this year, but the end of next year. Yeah, we're going to all be watching from above as this thing goes hot. Because what happens when they start to run out of this kind of stuff is you only have one option left on the table, and that is pretty much nukes, all right? Because if you run out of the ability to fight a war and all your reach back is nuclear, that's where it's going. Otherwise, you don't exist any longer, all right? And so let's go back over here to the headline side as we talk about what's going on. We're going to look at, for example, let's just look very quickly at what's going on in Israel, all right? Again, Israel needs our support, but we are all bundled up because we're trying to put their package in with the Ukrainian package and our border, which isn't really a border package. It's not a wall. It's just their ability to grease the skids so people can get in faster. That's what that is all about. But if you look up to the north, you can see on a very regular basis, Israel is engaging with Hezbollah to the north, and down to the south, directly across from me, that is Gaza. Those little blue dots is Israel hitting targets inside of Gaza, okay? Notice right here, just a little bit to above my head, that section, that's the West Bank, all right? And that, they're Molotovs and all kinds of different things. The two different ones, the reds are the bad guys, the blues are the good guys in this case, all right? Now, we'll come back to the Ukraine side in just a second because I'm going to show you what's going on with that, which is also very interesting. Now, let's look at Biggs Army Airfield. We've got a national cargo taking off right now. But the interesting piece is, notice the arrivals, Eastern Airline, Kansas City. We've got 2 flights coming out of Kansas City, Missouri. Now, I just showed you the Swift Air flights are going into that same area, right? Here's a Swift Air flight actually coming in from Omaha, Nebraska. So this, I think a majority of this are picking up illegals. Remember, that camp holds 15,000, so they could do this all day, every day. All right, notice where they're headed. Pope, that's Fayetteville, North Carolina. Shannon, that's Ireland. So that Omni, that's troops. That may be troops right there. But then we get down a little further. Again, another 6-7 headed back to Pope. I already told you, and I know this, they're holding immigrants there too, okay? And then, of course, this one headed to Boston up in Manchester, 777. Eastern Airlines getting in on the mix. So either we got a lot of troops moving around or we are moving illegals. I think it's probably illegals with a little bit of some troop movement in there. All right, then we get over to Ramstein. Camber flights showing up. Just notice where they're coming out of. Kuwait, 747, 777. And then this one coming out of near Alexandria. That's Egypt. Okay, so we got a lot of troops moving in and out of Ramstein, it looks like. This one's coming back to Savannah. It's an Atlas Air 747-400. And then that's a camber flight headed to Terceira Island, right? That's just a fuel stop more than likely. Again, camber, a lot of reaches coming in. Then let's get over to this side, which would be C-17s. We saw that with the C-17 efforts, very thick traffic in and out of Ramstein. So we know that's a major hub for them. Now we go over to the U.S. Transportation Command, and just notice you've got this one coming out of, that is Crete, and then this one, Kuwait to Frankfurt. Now this is a little suspect. Even though it shows a camber flight, Frankfurt's not really a big hub where we send troops. It typically is through Ramstein. So again, but then notice this one is headed down to Djibouti. That means Djibouti's not clean today. All right. So let's continue on. We're going to look at Djibouti closer. And this is RZE Poland. Again, that is artillery, probably already pre-ordered coming in. Let's see who we have. That's Wiesbaden. That's going to be a base commander. Camber flight, camber flight, camber flight. Look at all the camber flights coming inbound to RZE Poland. Big uptick, forward operating base, by the way, into Ukraine. And I don't see them taking off. I see that one headed to Constanta. UPS is headed down to Cologne. Western Global, MD-11 into Frankfurt. And then that one's headed straight on over to Hong Kong, all right? So RZE Poland right now, very, very active today, okay? Now, look at this. Medvedev warns that Russia has no choice but to unleash nuclear apocalypse if attacked by NATO. I've been saying this. There is a spring offensive in the making. If I'm just watching the flights, this goes hot. He's telling you, and they've said it over and over and over again, that, you know what, that eastern flank between, you know, Poland and Estonia, Latvia, all the way up to Finland, I'm telling you, nukes are definitely on the table, and Russia has no problem with telling you that that's their plan. So if we go in hot into Ukraine and decide to attack Russia, that's going to be the retaliation. All right, massive explosion hits Russian plant making nuclear-capable ICBMs. Well, it wasn't us, because I'm going to show you the data. This is actually a facility. What they were doing was it was a scheduled test of rocket engines that it said it was a planned event, not an emergency. So the headline would make you think, oh, we struck something in Russia, their nuclear-capable facilities. Not the case. They were testing rocket engines and they blew up. All right, so, all right, moving on. Okay, the Brits, where are you headed today? Let me just back it up. I see it looks to be a Eurofighter headed across the drink. That is going to be a long trip. It is definitely accompanied by an air refueler to make it to that location. I think this was part of the big exercise that was out here off of Southern California. We've been watching them go across the country this week, all right? And another smaller aircraft headed down south into Europe. Okay, Western Global, Anchorage to Dallas, Fort Worth. First time I've seen that. Don't know what that's all about. All right, and then Omni, very busy and active today. Looks like we've got stuff coming in and out of Japan and near Tokyo, and then some stuff coming back from Shannon, Ireland into the U.S., and then one leaving, Biggs headed to Shannon. So troop rotation probably. Remember, we got a large exercise going on there. And this is Doha. Just to show you, we got one flight coming out of Kuwait, and that's the only one. All right, I had more on the board, actually. And then this, just another data point for you. Iran now has enough weapons-grade uranium for a nuclear weapon with a breakout time of 1 week. All right, well, they just announced yesterday they launched a satellite, so now they tell you they've got the capability to put something into orbit, which would be an ICBM with the nuke. All right. Thank you, Obama and Biden, because you enabled every bit of that. Okay, this is Djibouti. Now, if we get into Djibouti, you can see a lot of flights, Atlas Airs from Kuwait, right? And then back out. I don't know what they're putting there. Maybe missile defense, moving that stuff around, because that'd be a key location. Remember, that is Yemen is, this is Yemen right here. So if you put some missile defense in here, you kind of got some coverage for things coming in and out of that little pinch point there, all right? And last up is just NATO. It looks like they are headed in and out of Eindhoven in Europe, so really not going too far. So, all right, well, listen, that's going to do it for our SITREP today. Hope you guys have a fantastic weekend. Remember, if you're over on Patreon, we will see you on Saturday and Sunday with our exclusive content there. So that's it, you guys. Be safe. Keep that powder dry. And if you want peace, prepare for war. It's coming. God bless. Monkey out. Thanks for watching, folks. You can check out the latest gear and products by selecting the QR code on your screen now or go to monkeyworksus.com.